I'm scared. I'm scared to walk. I don't know if I can do it. My leg's given out, or my leg's not being strong enough to get me from dealing with the weakness. And I've had to be hyper conscious of them because I could get hurt.
The Broadway actor, singer, and motivational speaker Aaron Lazar.
Stage actor, has been in about a dozen Broadway productions. And Aaron Lazar.
My older son, who tells me he loves me all the time, and he's constantly giving me hugs and kisses, and then he's asking me, like, how you doing, Dad? Did you walk today? Did you do this? Like, he's looking for signs all the time that I'm getting better. He needs reassurance. We've had, like, weekends where, like, one of the days is we're crying it out and we're sad, because he wants to go somewhere and I can't drive him, or, whatever it is, and I feel guilty about that or ashamed about that.
Let me ask you a question. Who are you now versus who you are then, and how did you get from then to here?
It's such a big question. I mean,
He is an award-winning, Grammy-nominated actor and singer who has starred on Broadway and now inspires audiences nationwide with his message of hope and healing through the impossible dream. Aaron Lazar. Hi, I'm Topaz Adizes. I'm the founder of the Emmy Award-winning series, The End. The End has been an incredible journey for the last 12 years. We've brought in over 1,250 pairs to have incredible conversations, and I've learned a lot. Through this work, I've had the privilege of witnessing the bold, the beautiful, and the heart-wrenching, the conversations that reveal us. I've watched, I've listened, I've learned, and now I'm ready to share. David S. Viscott has a great quote that always inspires me. The purpose of life is to find your gift. The work of life is to develop your gift. And the meaning of life is to give it away. And what I've seen from my 48 years on this planet through incredible experiences is that life shapes us. Things happen to us and we interpret those things, and that shapes us into offerings we can offer others. So the expedition that I'm embarking upon, that I'm inviting you to join, is a journey of conversations. I'm going to speak to people that I find incredible. I'm going to be asking them questions that reveal their life's journey. What are the hidden gifts and challenges and offerings that they have? And on this journey, we will uncover the message the universe has written into your life for yourself and for others. Are you listening to what your life is telling you? I don't know where we'll go. I'm just going to be very transparent about it. And that's why I welcome you to this journey that we're calling Getting Under the Skin, or Guts for short. Thank you, and let's see where we go. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to episode 2 of Guts, and I'm super excited for this episode. It's with my very good friend, Aaron Lazar. And Aaron and I have been friends for about 25 years, and his life's journey is an incredible one. He's currently battling ALS, or I should say, or he would say, healing from ALS, which to me is one of the scariest battles to have, frankly. I've known him for a very long time. He's actually the first actor in my first short film. So we collaborated from back then, and we've known each other through the thick and thin of it, through incredible careers that he built and I built. He's a actor and a musical theater actor. He's been on Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, Oklahoma on Broadway, Les Mis on Broadway, and all over. He's been in TV. He's an incredible actor, musical performer. He actually just had an album that he made called The Impossible Dream. Also, a version of saying that is I'm Possible Dream. That was actually nominated for a Grammy this year. And for the last 2-3 years, he's been on his life journey of healing from ALS. There's only 62 people who've healed from ALS, and he's 61, 62, 63. He says he's going to be the next. And so I just couldn't wait to have a conversation with him. It was a deep and profound one. Together we talk about what he's going through and how he's facing the challenge of having ALS, where he feels it may have come from, how he's engaging with it, what it's teaching him, how it affects his relationship with his 2 children, his experiences as an actor, going out and auditioning and going for roles and how he sees that now and what that has to do with his nervous system and his energy as a whole. I know that this is a very personal conversation that I shared with Aaron, and I'm really happy that he came on, but I also know it's not the last. So I invite you to have this conversation in which we can really be inspired and learn from somebody who's so gracefully and courageously facing this challenge of which he is healing from. So welcome to another episode of Getting Under the Skin. Enjoy.
There we go.
Let's just try this shit out. Let's just try it out.
Let's try the shit out, bro. Let's try it out.
Just try it out, dude. I thought a little ode to Days of Our Lives, baby. Weren't you on Days of Our Lives at some point?
No, I did. No, you're not far off. I was like on Guiding Light a couple times. I think I did All My Children. I did a scene with Susan Lucci once, like, you know, the godmother of all soap operas, queen.
You know, I directed
that's
soap
how I
operas.
start. That's how I started. I mean, when we were, you know, hustling in the city, we were the street hustlers.
Early 2000s.
Early 2000s. My agents were like, "You're a musical theater actor," and I'm like, "I am a movie star." And they're like, "You don't know how to act," and I was like, "You watch me." So I got involved in acting classes with Joan Rosenfels, which is how, is that how we met, right?
No, we met through Chris Pearson and Lauren Shaw.
Oh, right. We met through a college buddy of mine, but were you in Joan's class for a hot second?
I went into Joan's class because you recommended it. I asked you, I said, I want to learn about acting. What do you recommend? He said, audit her class.
Yeah, Joan. I haven't talked to her in a long time. My agents were like, "You need to, you know, really learn how to act." And I was like, "Okay." And in the meantime, I'm going to go prove you guys wrong. So I was auditioning for any television and film that I could audition for because my agents weren't getting me any television film appointments. So I would take my headshot. I would, you know, headshot and resume days, right? Staple the resume at the back. I would take it to the soap opera casting director's office, and I would happily and proudly just walk in. You know, I was like 23, 24 years old or whatever. And I was like, "Hello, I'm Aaron Lazar. I would like to be on your show. Here is my headshot and resume. And please," and, you know, just obviously not that cheesy. I would try and charm them. And I landed like, I think the first television I ever did was serving coffee on Guiding Light as like not like a bartender / waiter in a restaurant to Patti LuPone's brother, Bob LuPone. And I didn't have any lines, but I wanted to say something. So I think I dropped the coffee off, and he was like, you know, barely paying attention to me. And I was like, "Do you need anything else, sir?" And I was like nervous to say it because if you say anything over 5 lines or something, they have to pay you, right? Like, or something called like an under 5. And I was like, I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to say something to these actors. I'm going to act. And I'm going to see if the producers like call cut or like nobody cared, man. No, just nobody. It was all in my head, you know, but I was like all nervous. And that's still on VHS somewhere.
Do you have it on VH?
Of course.
VHS?
It was like on my first television and film reel, you know. It was like, "Here's your coffee. Did you need anything else, sir?" I snuck up.
I still remember having a VHS recorder and outlaying everything to a VHS and then sending it to festivals to see if you get in. Yeah. And then you get a letter back, a rejection.
Somebody
feels
took
like
the
forever
time.
ago.
Yeah. I mean, so wait, so you would shoot a film and you would submit that film to festivals on a VHS tape.
VHS or a DVD,
right?
Depending on what you could send. This is early, like 2000, 2001, 2002.
Wow.
And then you get not an email, but you would get a letter in the mail.
Well, I don't know if you did this. I mean, we both have Jewish mothers, and I don't know if our Jewish mothers were at all aligned on this, but my mom was what taught me about the power of a thank you note and like a personalized thank you note. And so I think it started at my bar mitzvah, actually, when it was like, you get a present and you write a thank you note, except, you know, my mom, the amazing Cheryl Lazar, she's like, we're going to go to this store and we're going to get you custom stationery, you know, so it had like my monogrammed initials or whatever. And I felt all like a little Bruce Wayne, you know, I was like, I got my own stationery. And I hand wrote thank you notes, right, to all the people that gave me stuff for my bar mitzvah. And like, that was like, this is just what you do. Like, this is what a good kid does. This is how you show your appreciation. And then 10 years later, you know, when I'm in the city and I'm like, I would write handwritten on Aaron Lazar stationery. I'd be like, dear casting director of Guiding Light, I hope you got my headshot and I would love to work for you. You know, like I would just do that. I think I just burned through boxes of stationery.
Did it work?
Yeah, of course it worked. And I mean, and to go full circle on this, when I booked my first series regular in a television show on Fox, the head of Fox, Charlie, of course now I'm blanking out his name, incredibly well-known, incredibly well-respected television executive, studio executive. His gift to the cast was personalized stationery. And so I got a box in the mail from Charlie, from Fox. And it was a gorgeous lucite case with Aaron Lazar, you know, Patrick Bateman style, you know, from American Psycho, right? Like it's got to be bone white card style, like whatever that was, like really impressive, beautiful stationery. And I hadn't had that. This is a couple of years ago, and I probably hadn't done that, right? Like we all kind of bailed on that for email. So I hadn't done that in a long time.
Yeah.
And he wrote a note that was something like his mother or his grandfather, somebody in his life taught him the power of a handwritten note. And he hoped that we would pass it on. And I immediately wrote him a thank you on that stationery and was like, this is the way I used to do things. And why don't I do that anymore? What's changed?
Great question. Before we go in and try to answer that, for me, thank you notes also started my bar mitzvah, and they ended there too. Because I had to write thank you notes for like 200 people. My mom kept track. She's like, you're going to thank everyone. You're going to thank them for the specific gift. And I remember being there like, oh my God.
I know. Yeah.
But then in my 30s, I realized that all my friends were having kids, and I wanted to really appreciate them and be in touch with them. And I figured the best way to do that, and I was traveling so much, was to send their kids postcards from all the places I've been.
I remember this. You
remember?
Did this.
Did I send it to your boys
awesome,
at one point?
Yeah. I think Julian. I think it was Julian. I think you were traveling the world. Were you traveling the world? My son Julian, who's now, you know, almost 15. So this is 2010. Were you traveling the world somewhere around 2010 to 2015, somewhere in there?
I mean, I was traveling all the time for work. If I go through my feed or my diary, it's like exhausting to read what I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was a chapter, like I couldn't even keep up with what country you were shooting all over the world. I mean, you were
filming a lot of different things. I even forgot a lot of things I filmed, and then someone reminds me, or I see a clip, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about that. So it's fun. I just came back from New York. I was there for 4 or 5 days. I can't tell you how many deep inhalations I took, just being surrounded by so many people. Because now I live in Uruguay and I have a lot of space and time. And I can't believe only after 6 months, I'm actually not used to New York rhythm and intensity.
So when you said deep inhalations, you mean you were panicking?
I was close to panicking.
You're trying to catch your breath.
Yes, where you just have to.
Not deep inhalations of like, there's the city street smells that I miss.
Yes, exactly. The dog piss and cat piss and God knows what else.
And that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah. So it got you a little. It tightened you up a little bit.
Yeah, and I remember after being there for 18 years. How long were you in New York? Similar, right? 15, 18?
Yeah, I was there. I mean, I lived in the city for probably 12 or 13, and then we moved out to New Jersey for a couple of years before I came out here to Los Angeles. So it was a total of New York focus for 15 years.
Amazing how we get used to that rhythm and all the energies of people and feeling out how to mute the unnecessary because you're in touch with so many people. Then I moved to a place where there's few people, there's a lot of space. And so I'm acclimatized to this living. I go back to New York and my system is registering every single person, every single energy, and it's exhausting.
Interesting. I remember almost to the day that I started to feel that element of New York when I was like, it might be, it wasn't like, the first thought wasn't, it might be time to leave, but it was the seed of that feeling of like, this is too much. Like, I mean, we were living in Times Square because I was working on Broadway in the theater, and as much time that I could save commuting on subways late at night, whatever it was, as much time as I could be at home with my little kids. So moved to 42nd and 9th so that if I was on a 2-show day, you know, I could leave a matinee at like, get home no later. Like if the show starts at 2 and is over at like 4:30, I could get home by 5, and the next show's not until 8 and we don't have to sign in until 7:30. So I had like a solid 2 hours with my family to rest, to eat dinner. But the price to pay was like, you're living in Times Square, and like the building was right next to Port Authority and Lincoln Tunnel traffic. I mean, just to get from my building, well, we would take the bus from Port Authority next door to my parents in South Jersey to get out of the city. So there was a Greyhound bus, one stop to Cherry Hill, New Jersey or something. And it was an hour and a half ride. So we didn't need a car. But what that meant was that we go to Port Authority. Hey, you got to deal with Port Authority. And that's a whole nother podcast episode. We listen to Chris Rock's bit on Port Authority. That's all you need to know. But sometimes it could take, now the Port Authority, this is, who cares, but Port Authority is 1.5 blocks from the entrance to the Lincoln Tunnel. Like you could throw a rock from Port Authority into the tunnel, basically. And there were days when it took 2 hours just to get from there into the tunnel. That's how much traffic there was in that. And so that energy, like trying to start raising kids there, you know, taking the double stroller out into the middle of that, it was like, maybe this isn't the way we're going to do this. Like, and then it was like, well, wait, if we're not going to do this here, what are we going to do? And it's actually, I'm now, for the first time in maybe more than 10 years, I'm in a house, right? Because I went from apartments in New York and being a homeowner of apartments in New York to being a homeowner in New Jersey in a house. But that house only was like 2-3 years, and then moved out here and was back in an apartment, you know, went through some hell, and another apartment, finally went, I just want some peace and quiet, man. Like the energy of New York went to the energy of LA. And even though it's beautiful and there's sun and trees and mountains and ocean, all that, there's still this energy of hustle and ambition and like need and fame and like everything that I fed off of. And I was like, I don't need that in my system anymore. And I just got out to this house, and it's like, it's an adjustment, man. It's a necessary change for me and my system. So I get it, dude, because you went down to Uruguay, and I'm living vicariously through you. Because what I feel like is like away from LA, like you're away. You're like, if you can breathe and like
there's a lot of time
your
here.
Space and your world. And
and I'm getting used to it. Neurotic Jew over here, overworking. You know, if I'm not running around with my head chopped off doing something, I'm not valuable or worthwhile, or I'm a parasite. So.
Oh, that's good. That's I forgot a glass, so forgive me. I'm just going to drink right out of this giant
Mountain Spring. But I'm going to give you two memories. Memory number one, right before.
No, hold on. First of all, hold on. Because you just said something really important. What you just said something about, like, if you're not running around like a chicken with its head cut off, you're not worthy. What did you say?
You're a parasite. If you're not doing something of value, you're a parasite.
Yeah, that's like a
Pretty bad operating system.
That program like almost killed me. Literally almost killed me.
I think we have that in common.
Yeah, I think
not that we all, that we both have that in our system. We had that kind of, I think that's one thing that kind of connected us back in New York when you started this by saying we were hustling, and I think we definitely were hustling the first 10, 15 years.
Like you wanted to be the best documentary filmmaker.
I would know. I wasn't even doc. I was doing
not even
fiction
doc. You
too,
wanted to be the best.
I honestly, what I wanted was to prove myself to my dad. If I really look at it, everything was about being a genius, because that's what my dad valued.
Being a genius.
Yeah, that was the bar.
Yeah, the bar. You're a genius or you're nothing.
Exactly. I don't hold it against him. It's
well, you can't,
not directly from him, but
they don't know. Our parents, I can relate to that. I mean, but they in the same way that like I only know what I know as far as parenting my kids, and I'm incredibly grateful that I get to share with them wisdom that has been almost forced upon me, right? Like, the health crisis, the diagnosis is a call to awakening. And what am I going to do with it? And what I've done with it has been infinitely valuable to my tools as a parent, because I now am able to raise them from just a more expanded level of consciousness than our fathers were able to raise us. And I have heard about your dad, now for 25 years, and I have spoken to him via email. I've seen pictures of him, and he's a mythological figure to me, and I've not even met him. Do you know what I mean? And so I can only imagine who he is to you. And my dad has been living with me now for the last 6 weeks, helping me move into this house and, taking care of things for me that at the moment I can't do for myself. And it's this incredible opportunity that really I started to recognize probably a decade ago. Oh, there's some stuff I got to unpack here with my dad. And how do we start healing that? How do we start? Because I was carrying around so much stuff. So I know you and I could talk about this for a while, but I think it was just circling it back to you saying, you don't hold it against them. They do their best.
Yeah.
And they love us so much. In the same way that you love your kids, you're doing your best. And then we grow up and go, well, I got to blame somebody for my shit. And it's got to be their fault, right? Like, it's got to be my mom did this and my dad did that. And how could they have? And the older I get, I just go they didn't know. They just super didn't know.
There's also the thing of what they do and how you as the child take them in, and how you also put more importance on what they say, or maybe you tweak what they say. Like I'm saying, it's not a one-to-one delivery. My father does something, I interpret it in a certain way, and it might not be exactly what he's intending for, right? Maybe the effect is compounded and it goes through my own patterns, I hope.
100%.
So it's not just their fault, right? It's also what life presented to me and how I interacted with life and what I distilled from that to create skills and then a gift or an offering for others. Now, does that make sense?
It does. I really grew up with such a narrow but fully committed idea that I was a literal genetic product of my two parents. And so there was no sense of authenticity of self at all. There was
Do you mean you were like when you say that, you're saying you thought you were a 50-50 mix of them, so there was no room for your own independence because you're a mix of them? Is that what you mean?
I was going to do whatever they said to do, and that was my truth. And I had implicit trust that whatever they said to do was the right thing to do. And I was the golden child,
you're the golden son,
perfect
golden
oldest
child.
son, right? And
Yeah.
and it's funny because I look at my brother and sister and how, over certain issues, my brother and sister were like, we're not doing that. And even as an adult, I was like, I'll do that. Like there's this, like, my mom said that that's the right thing to do. Like, she's got to be right. She's my mom. She's brilliant. She's, tough. She's a survivor. I'm going to do what she did because that's, and it's like, well, identity is a fascinating sort of part of our personality and our psyche. And I didn't know anything about that until I started to really deal with significant adversity in my life and lose identity, lose my sense of self, my sense of identity, and go, oh shit, I don't know who I am.
Let's talk about that for a second. Let me ask you a question. Who are you now versus who you are then? And you choose then. You tell me when then was. But who are you now and who are you versus who you are then? And how did you get from then to here?
It's such a big question. I mean, who I am now is a guy who is really excited and really interested in cultivating, living, and creating for myself in every moment that's possible, a life that's full of joy and full of fun and full of love. And that was definitely a part of who I was then. If I go back to, I was actually thinking about this right before we hopped on today, because I was like, I'm having one of the best days of my life today. Why? Is it literally like in the full scope of the life of Aaron Lazar? Is this like one of the best days of my life with all the amazing stuff I've done? It's like, it's just a normal day. But normal for me, I didn't know how to live that way, or I haven't known how to live happily that way for such a long time. And now there's also like real things to celebrate. Like, I took a shower this morning, and it's the first time I've been able to take a shower in the morning in like over 3 months, because my body hasn't been strong enough in the morning to deal with like getting up, getting into the shower, using my hands, and like, it's a process, man. And This morning I was like, you know what? I'm taking a shower this morning. I also got into my closet. You'll see I'm wearing a shirt. It's a shirt, collared shirt, which I haven't been able to do frequently because I got to get into my closet to do it, and the wheelchair has to fit in there, right? And B, I got to be able to button the buttons on the shirt. And we did that this morning, and it all came from it. It all comes from this work that I'm doing to change patterns where it allows for this moment to be unlimited and full of love and possibility. And I used to be that guy. And so I was thinking about that. Like, I think it was in grad school when I was on a very clear path to living a dream of becoming an actor. I didn't have to think about it. I knew I was going to be somewhere for 2 years at the best school in the country, surrounded by people who loved me, with the best training in the world, supported by my parents, living on my own in an apartment. I didn't have anything to think about except get up every morning and enjoy the hell out of the fact that I was living my dream. And life took care of itself. And
this is like 20, 25, 28 years ago when you were in Cleveland, right?
Close, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
It was 98 to 2000. So yeah, it was 26 to 24 years ago. And I don't know.
Did you
man.
enjoy it?
Did I enjoy that? Yeah. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
So do you feel the same now? But it's interesting because you said
I'm starting to. It has to do with positive expectation, right? Like you could say, oh, this guy got diagnosed with this disease. How could you have positive expectation? And it's like, I'm realizing it's the way to heal.
Tell us more. Tell me more. Let's double click on that. What do you mean what's the way to heal?
Somewhere in the Bible, Jesus said, basically to manifest what you want, you feel the feeling of already having whatever it is that you want. And that's the prayer. And I've known that for a long time. That's been, adopted by every, personal development, self-help, master, guru, coach. I read 100 books on healing in the nervous system over the last 3 years. They all share the same wisdom. But there's a difference between knowing it and then continuing to know it on another layer and another layer, another level. Like the levels are just like infinite. And the level that I know it now on is starting to really understand that if I'm in a moment of my life that is not the way I want it to feel, we all deal with this, right? It might be fear, anxiety, anger, disappointment, whatever it is, man. I can now make distinctions for myself as opposed to just becoming a victim to it and going, well, I guess there goes the rest of this afternoon. Or, I better, I don't know. I change my behavior to match the lower vibrational energy. Or I do the opposite, right? Which I used to do in the past all the time, which is like, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to work out, I'm going to push myself. I'm going to get that dopamine release through sheer force of will. I mean, these are the tools we have as humans. Like what else is there? Well, not able to go do that now at the moment, right? Not able to go to the gym and hit those weights and get that workout and get those endorphins. I have been learning how to just in this moment make myself as giddy and happy and enjoy the hell out of all of it. In some cases, in what is far from ideal circumstances, and that practice, I'm hyper aware of like, oh, I feel kind of like I was just saying, I feel like this is one of the best days I've ever had. Why does this remind me of when I was 24? What is that connection? And like, what is the difference of having good days, in the recent past versus having a day like today? I'm creating new patterns, and I'm in a very focused, disciplined, relentlessly passionate way, practicing it over and over and over and over and over again, because I believe that in the change of that pattern is the unlocking of healing. Mm-hmm. Because there's no identification at all with the illness, with the challenges, with the symptoms. There's like, this is, and the next thing you know, I'm able to do things like take the shower, get in the closet, put the shirt on, walk more this week than I've walked in a couple months. Mm-hmm. Well, how does that happen, right? Is it all just a giant placebo effect, or is there actual power in like, if you believe that there's a God, there's universe, there's source energy, there's whatever you want to call it, and if you believe that that's just pure love and pure joy, then the more I can feel that's the divinity in me and all around me. This thing is a magic suit, dude. I mean, it the cells in our body that want the DNA in one cell that can take up 600, 1,000 page books. What is that? That's magic, man. So how do I fill this thing with the most love and infinite possibility that I can, so that there's just no room for disease at all? And in the least, I have a freaking great day.
So there's two things. You said distinctions, and I just want to clarify what you mean by that. And you also use the term patterns. By distinctions, you mean, I take you to mean, so let me know, is the ability to make distinctions between the energetic state you're in or the emotional state you're in and shifting it. Instead of going to the gym, you know how you're in the state you're in and you shift the state. Is that what you mean by distinctions?
Yeah, I mean, look, I am learning this as we speak. This comes from a coach that I'm working with named Brandy Gilmore, and she said something to me the other day, which was like, you can make excuses or you can make distinctions. And to me, what that means is like, you know, I was having a couple days of just a lot of anxiety, and when that happens, that leads to me having just not fun days, you know, not fun times. That's for anybody, but you know, it exacerbates the challenges that I'm dealing with. It leads to more doubt and blah, blah, blah. And you don't want to do the work. You don't want to put on the music that gives you the good feelings, because you end up not having the good feelings. You have sadness, or you have, oh, I see, here's the dream, but here's where I am, and I don't know how to get there. And am I ever going to get all that shit that spins? That's old pattern, right? That's expectation of negative outcomes or doubt of positive outcomes. If you shift into, I expect positive outcomes, you have to repeat that shift over and over and over and over and over again. And the more you do, the less the body will go back to its habits. And so that's one way of making the distinction, you know. And the other way is to realize, even when I think I've done all the work, man, I've been doing this for how many years, and I've been meditating for how long, and I've been searching the depths of my soul for answers now, you know, since the day of diagnosis, and really years prior in a search for spiritual. So this righteousness comes in, which is also old, which is like, I've done it all already, man. Yeah. So what is there to do? And I realized the other day, you know, that is old also, because as an actor, I built a very successful career, and then I moved to LA, and it plateaued and dried up hard for a long time. And that meant, I mean, I think sometimes there were hundreds of auditions, hundreds of self-tapes before booking a job. And navigating that amount of rejection, so to speak, that amount of, hey, man, you're putting your talent out there, you're getting yourself together, you're learning all the material, you're putting yourself on tape, and you're putting it out into, you know, the ether, and you get nothing back. You got kids to feed, you know, and you're like, am I, it spins. Am I not talented? Am I not who I think I am? Am I not good at this? Am I ever going to work again? And that is so exhausting. And my only tool to navigate that was to go, I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep doing this. But my heart was not in it anymore. I was pissed. I was angry. I was hurt, dude. That's really what it was. It was, to me, I loved this business so much, and it didn't love me the way I loved it, or it betrayed me, or whatever that primal need is that we have for acknowledgement and love and safety and those things. And it's like, I wasn't getting any of that from the business. And instead of really being honest with myself about it, I was like, no, I'm going to do what I'm an optimistic guy. I'm just going to keep going. And I just burned myself out, you know? And so that feeling of righteousness is like, hey, show business, come on, man. How many Broadway shows? How many TV shows? How many movies before you believe what I know to be true, that I can do this and I'm good and all this stuff? And yet I really wasn't showing up, Topaz. Like, my heart was not in it. So of course I wasn't booking these jobs. I'm not blaming myself. I'm just saying, if it's that competitive out there and you want to go, well, why does somebody get a job and somebody doesn't? Like, there's energy lining up.
You were not really showing up, even though you were going to keep going and working and auditioning and putting yourself out there. You weren't fully showing up with all your heart. How do you know you weren't?
So it's the difference between, I know I wasn't, because I know how I felt over the last couple days when I've learned, okay, so I've got like a patio outside here, right? And it's a really nice flat place for me to work on my walking. And I have a walker. And so I will take my wheelchair down to one end, and I've got one of these chairs that I'm in here at the other end, right? And there's like a 20 foot, 25 foot space between the two. And I'll walk from the wheelchair to the chair. I'll turn around, I'll go back, and I'll sit down. And the way I would do that is go, I'm scared to walk. I don't know if I can do it. Can I do it? I just have to fucking try. Just fucking show up and go do it. That's the way I used to do it, right? And it would either go well or it would go okay. I would definitely get over the fear, and I'd go, okay, you did it, man. And then it was like, okay, yeah, but how many steps did you get? Well, you got to get more steps, bro, because if you're sitting around not getting steps. And it was just this loop of logic that I had, right? That
what were you? You said you were scared. You had fear. What was the fear of?
Of my legs giving out, or like my legs not being strong enough to get me from, like dealing with the weakness and shit that, I'm healing from, right? And I made a change over the last couple of days, and it was like, I'm not taking that first step until I have shifted from that old place to a new place. And the new place is, we're not doing this out of will. We're not doing this out of pushing. We're not doing this out of like the way we used to work out, like get in another set, like fucking let's go. We're doing this out of, have I just shifted to a place where I feel love and joy for myself and the fact that I get to take a step. And when I shift there, I catch myself in the bathroom, standing up, washing my hands for the first time in like 2 months, instead of sitting in my wheelchair and wheeling to the thing. And I'm not even thinking about it. Where does that come from, right? Like, and then I go, oh, I just did that. And that's what most people take for granted, right? You go about your business, you go about your day, the things that are just, you don't have any consciousness. I've had to be hyper conscious of them because I could get hurt,
because your legs could go out, because your hands could go out.
Your legs can go out, your arm can go out, you could slip, you could this, you could that. And like a fall sets you back. Who knows how fucking long, I'm moving forward, but how do you move forward? And so circling back to the acting thing, it's like, I had a weird sense of that realization of going, this is how you used to make self-tapes, Aaron. Now, why those two things are linked up is very interesting to me, but it's what we're talking about here. It's because I used to get the audition from the agent and go, fuck. Now, I needed a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted that job. Some scripts you read and you go, oh my God, I want this. But you do that and don't get the job enough. You go, well, maybe I should stop wanting it so bad. Mm-hmm. But that's taking your love and your passion away from it. So now you're in conflict with yourself. The brain's confused. It's like, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to bring the best of yourself to this? And I would go, well, this is my job. It's basically to audition. I don't get paid to do it, but that's the only way I'm going to put food on the table for my kids. So show up, Lazar. And I would fucking show up, and I would learn my lines, and I would do the thing. But underneath, what was underneath, man? the pattern that was underneath was really like a, an excuse or a this or a that. It wasn't love. It wasn't the best of me. Let's just cut to the chase, dude. It was not the best of me. And so I've caught myself, over the last couple days going, how do I bring the best of me to this moment from a new place? Not like old Lazar. I was a personal trainer. I was a Division I athlete. I'm Wolverine,
Yeah.
How do I bring the best of me from joy and like giddiness and things that like, me as like a goof kind of dude, but the business never did because there was no room for that kind of joy. It was like, we got to take this shit really seriously.
Yeah. What I hear is that the intention, I mean, not the intention, but the driving force, the intention, the thing that drove you forward, you're still doing the same thing, but the energy from which is driving you is different. One is a hammering, like you've got to fucking do this, step up, you got to feed your kids. This is, you have your goals you got to achieve. And that's like a hammering versus, just the joy of being alive and having the opportunity to express yourself and get paid for it. It's just very much what you're talking about. You're talking about going 20 yards, to your wheelchair and back, and either you're hammering yourself or you're like, I'm not going to get up until I'm fully in the place of joy. The action is the same, but actually the result of how the structure of the energy is flowing versus being hammering you versus I'm going to be full of joy. I'm going to focus on that first, get in this place of fulfillment and joy and cohesion, kind of like in your system. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're in the bathroom. You're not even thinking about it. You're washing your hands.
That's right. Is it perfect? Do I have all the answers? Am I there? No, but I'm moving in the right direction and I'm getting results. Again, to have walked more this week than in 2 months.
Amazing.
So the little things to me, dude, are huge. I could cry being like, dude, I went into my closet this morning and got to see my clothes. Like, not like the fucking same 6 t-shirts I've been wearing. And you know what I mean? It's like, I got to do that. And like, that to me, it's like, that to me, I'm not crying out of like, we got to be very clear. This isn't about fucking, I don't want love from sympathy. I don't want love from like, oh, this guy. I want love from like, this guy is everybody. We all face shit. And if we learn how to show up as the best of ourselves, the universe goes bang with energy. And it's like, I'm a powerfully energetic dude. And that works in the negative and the neutral and the positive. And I've spent a lot of time manifesting negative shit and a lot of time sitting in neutral thinking it's not safe to go. And now it's like, yo, what if even in the face of extraordinary adversity, you bring the best of yourself? And I go, and I have to be willing to then go, I thought I was doing that. Shut up. You can do more. There's more, because look what's happening just and it can shift immediately. You can go from a despondent moment to I'm doing something and I'm not even thinking about it. And that means I'm back in flow. That means I'm back in alignment. You know what I mean? And it makes me realize I was not in flow and alignment a lot of times. I was willing myself around. And I don't want to put too much, we've already given like a lot of time to talking about the past. I really want to make sure that the focus is on the new tracks. The focus is on like, it's valuable. I spent a lot of time searching for answers in the past. How did my past create my present? How can I use the present to create my future? That's the more important thing, is go, yeah. Can learn everything you want about the past. And it's of interest to me. I'm intrigued by it, especially because I'm dealing with something where medicine's like, hey, bud, you're on your own. Like a lot of hardworking people doing a lot, but we don't have the answer for you yet. So I'm like, all right, well, my passion is kind of being a really invested student of mind-body connection. But I'm really learning that it's about new patterns and putting those into practice, right? Like, I'm an actor. What do? We rehearse, man. You get good at whatever you practice. Rehearse the shit that you want and be aware enough, vigilantly aware enough to know the distinction between, like, yesterday's a perfect example. I was having a good day. It was fine. There was no anxiety, nothing, it wasn't nothing particularly great was happening. And I was like, I should probably just rest today. I'm just going to rest. And maybe I shouldn't walk. Maybe I should rest. And as soon as I shifted into more love and more joy and was honest with myself about what was in the way, I'm outside in my wheelchair, speeding around the neighborhood, finding myself in front of a basketball hoop, and I'm taking 50 air shots, dude. I put my feet on the fucking asphalt, and I'm like, boom, boom, because I can move my upper body. And I can feel, and I'm not doing it from a place of like, let's get exercise. I'm doing it from a place of like, isn't it going to feel fucking amazing when I can do this on my legs? And we're going to feel that right now, as if there's no difference. And I'm in my wheelchair and I've got a control and my hand on an armrest. But what am I doing? The control's here and my other arm's doing this. And I'm pretending I'm running, dude. And I see a woman walking through the neighborhood and I'm like, I don't give a shit what people think. I'm running, man. Or if I see somebody power walking, I'm like, oh, the arm is in this position. It's actually down. I'm going to fucking power walk. And I'm having a fucking blast. I think I was out for like 45 minutes. And it was like, oh, this is possible? There's so much. There's so much possible. It's infinitely possible in this moment if you get out of your own way.
How is this affecting you being a dad?
It's the best. It's like, the opportunity, if the old me was shit, I only get X amount of time with my kids because of the divorce and we got to make the most of this time. And then there's pressure around what that time is. And we got to fill that time with like doing shit and making memories. And then there's like, now there's a diagnosis on top of it. You better do that even more, bro. It's like, no, man. Like being present with my kids, filling my interaction and time with them with as much love as possible, remembering what it was like to be 12 and to be 14, knowing that there's only so much of this, meta, spiritual, whatever, that they're going to get. They get some of it, right? And that's a gift that I get to share that with them. But the rest of it is just like, hey, man. And, there's a temptation to be like, my kids go down the streets to play basketball and I want to get on the court with them and I want to fucking play. Well, I might not be able to throw a basketball very far, but I can get on the court and I can pass them the ball. I can imagine what it's going to feel like when I am playing with them. On the other side of the tennis court, I love tennis, man. And I'm hitting forehands and backhands and, just it's the imagination, right? Another good reason to be an actor is like, I think Einstein said, imagination is the most important thing human beings have. And it's all beautiful, man. I mean, they get to see their dad going through a crazy, extraordinary, difficult thing and go, wait, we can make magic out of this?
It's like their dad is taking on a huge dragon and he's doing it with so much grace and intelligence and kindness and growth that it's one of the most powerful lessons you can offer them. It's not talking about these things. It's just you're doing it and you're embodying it. And I think, as a friend, I'm inspired. I can only imagine what your sons are taking on, I'm sure your dad too. I'm sure your dad is, your dad's your roommate now for every time I call, he's there in the car or whatnot. And I know that must be a kind of a fun time. And I'm wondering what Cheryl's like when she's going to get her husband back. But I have a feeling your dad is just having a great time, making you hamburgers and pizzas, just hanging out. I mean, that must be, well, it's a beautiful healing that's happening there, right? The men in the Lazar, when all four of you there, your two sons and your dad, the four of you, that must be a special constellation that's happening right now. Is it?
Of course. And I don't think I'd be as good at practicing this new, creating these new train tracks if my dad wasn't who he is and handling it the way if my kids weren't, if my kids were a mess and my dad was a mess and, I had to handle that. I'm so grateful that my dad is really just like a get your head out of your ass kind of guy. Don't feel sorry for yourself kind of guy. And like, he's not an overthinker. He's like a pretty chill dude. So he's a good balance to me. And my kids take their lead from me. So, the more I'm continuing to show up as the best of myself, which does not mean it's not pressure. It's a choice. It's like my energy is so used to, thinking here's where our happy zone is. And actually, my happy zone could be, let's go this way for the sake of camera. If the happy zone is here and, my energy is like, yeah, we're cool here. But like the more I keep raising it and finding more joy and more fun and more, and for me, that's work. Some people just have it. Like there are people, you have those people in your life that like you look at and you just go, how the hell is this person so happy? Like they're just the most positive, bright, energetic. And it's like, I want that. How do I have that? And well, you got to practice it. And you got to get through that voice in your head that goes, you're never going to get there. It's not possible. This isn't for you. Or, just, take a day off or, and it's like, so this is actually the more I raise my happiness, the less my older son who tells me he loves me all the time. And he's constantly giving me hugs and kisses. And then he's asking me like, how you doing, Dad? Did you walk today? Did you do this? Like he's looking for signs all the time that I'm getting better. He needs reassurance. Right. And the more we've had like weekends where like one of the days is we're crying it out and we're sad, because he wants to go somewhere and I can't drive him or, whatever it is. And I feel guilty about that or ashamed about that or, whatever. And then it's like, well, we could live there. Right. Or we could just bring the most fun to whatever it is we can do. And we're honest about it with each other, and it's like, I'm so grateful everybody's on the same page. And that speaks to family. It speaks all the love and support that they have in their life too, keeping them stable. They're doing great in school, great in sports, like the irony of this, Tope, is like their dad's going through this thing, but they're doing as well, if not better than maybe they've ever been doing. And how's that possible? Right. And like, how am I doing better on some days than I've ever been doing, or at least than I've done in a really long, it's like, how's that possible? It's change.
The change is the emotional state, the kind of mental state you're in. What's the word there? The change, like the energy in which you sit in. You're saying you call it positive expectation. It's in finding the joy in the moment.
It's a soup. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I can say, here's the exact ingredients of soup, but I know that like expecting positive outcomes has not been my pattern for a long time because of all the career stuff or because of the personal, like whatever it is. And then you create survival mechanisms and how to protect yourself and how to whatever. And vigilant awareness of your own patterns and making distinctions, that is an ingredient. And for me, not getting love from sympathy, getting love from love.
And why not from sympathy? What's that about?
because for me, it's an old pattern that is like, you could say, you know, I remember as an unemployed actor going through periods of unemployment, you have to get love and attention. Like, these are needs. And if you're not getting that love and attention from being the star of a show or successful at something, which I was programmed to be used to, having been such an overachiever and had so much success, then how are you getting love and attention? People go, how you doing? What are you doing next? What are you up to? And you try to not complain.
Yeah.
You try to not talk. You try and not identify with it, but eventually found myself in a pattern of being like, blah, 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 blah. And people go, oh man, that's, and you start getting sympathy. You start getting love for your problems. And that's the opposite of healing, right? Like if I'm getting love for illness, right? It's not, you want love for love. Like, the more you equate the one-to-one there, I'm not doing your podcast so I can hop on and vent out my shit and get sympathy from your listeners. I'm doing it to go, hey, this is real human stuff. We all have adversity. We all have problems. We all may want sympathy, but is that going to get you what you want? And if it doesn't, how do you get your needs met? How do I get my needs met? And getting love and attention from love means I need to love myself enough to believe I'm worthy of that. So that's another ingredient.
Let me play back. What I'm hearing is love from sympathy is actually reinforcing a negative pattern, because then in order to get sympathy, there has to be something bad. And that's not reinforcing a healing, because it's actually reinforcing, in order to get sympathy, something bad has to be going. They have to feel sorry for you. So that's why you don't want love for sympathy. You want love for love, right? Love for like the positive possibilities of what is happening, right? Then the other two ingredients you mentioned I thought were interesting. One is, you mentioned vigilance second, but it feels like that's like the first thing, is be aware of the state you're in. Be aware of your thought patterns. Be aware of how you're speaking to yourself. Be aware of the questions you're asking yourself. Be aware of the emotions you're feeling. And then, be honest with yourself about how you're feeling, and then make a conscientious decision to change that to one of positive expectation, or something, or another state that is not negative, because that's not going to give you the energy to put you in a position to move forward in the direction you want to move in. That's what I'm hearing.
That's well said, man. I mean, and the other ingredient I'd say is that even when you think you've done everything, there's more to do.
Yeah. So don't go into like self-righteousness. How much more do I have to do?
Self-righteousness. Don't go into bitterness or
martyrdom.
Martyrdoms, right? I'm a victim. Like, victim doesn't. I mean, your body may be programmed to think that is safe and that's your comfort zone. And so it's going to fight you
to stay in that comfort zone.
When you get on the other side, and the more you reinforce it, right? I mean, dude, I've literally only been doing this specific thing for a couple of weeks. And this week alone has been like exponential results, right? And they're not what my old brain thought. It's not like you go from a dude diagnosed with ALS to a dude who's running a fucking triathlon. It's a slow, steady movement in the direction of healing and growing. And the pace of that is not up to me. Right? But I got to show up and keep going in that direction, and keep going in that direction, keep going in that direction. And for me, that takes practice. Some people are really good at this, There's one more thing about the kids. Brandy said something recently about love, and it was like, if you take a second, and you can do it with music, you can just do it with your imagination, you can just feel all the love that you have in your life, right? You can imagine how good that feels, right? Whatever comes up, I think about my dad, my kids, whatever. And I can get myself into the feelings of how loved I am and how grateful I am for all that love. But Brandy then puts a spin on it and goes, now imagine that you're giving all that love to everyone in your life. And what does that feel like? How do you show up? Because so often, especially dealing with a health crisis or something, and especially as an actor, you're so focused on yourself all the time. And even if you're a great person, I'm a good person, I got a lot of integrity, I'm full of love, there's still a pattern there, you know? And when I realized, oh man, like I've got an event to go to for the album, you know, my album that just came out, we got like a celebratory event for it this weekend. There's going to be 200 people there. And when I'm like, how much love can I give those people with none of my bullshit? No judgment of any, like just loving every single one of those people for who they are. It's that simple. Like all of a sudden I just go, well, that's new.
I mean, it's a new source of energy.
It's obvious. It's a new source of energy. It's something to look forward to. It gets me excited to go instead of focusing on the other stuff, which might be like, oh, what about the speech I got to give or the...
Instead of focusing on you going to this event and like, oh, what am I going to get? You're like, how much can I give? And when you ask that question, that draws you to go to the event. It gives you the energy because you're going to go and you're like, awesome. I'm going to give more. I'm going to be able to give more.
And I'm good at giving, like, I'm good at delivering. Like, I'm good at giving them the song, and I'm singing the song, and giving the speech, and I'm good at showing up, you know? Like, I'm really good at showing up. But this is different, man. This is like, how much can I literally just be present with somebody, whether I've known them for 20 years or I'm meeting them for the first time in that moment, and just love them for who they are.
You were talking about how showing up is in a different way. You're really good at showing up, but this is a different level. This is a different type of the energy that the presence that you have in the situations now is different than before. And you're really good at showing up and doing the talking thing, but this is a different kind of reflection to people. I call it, in my book, tailor-made reflections, because we are reflections for each other, but we get to be tailor-made. The question is, what am I reflecting back? We could choose that. A mirror can't choose what it reflects back. It just reflects exactly what there. Different. I could reflect back a certain aspect of you, a certain aspect of me. We can choose what we reflect back. Tailor-made reflections. And what I've seen, there was a clip I saw on Instagram. I don't know when it was, maybe a year ago. You went to New York to be on a TV show, to be interviewed on a talk show. And there's a clip of you walking into the hallway that someone filmed and put on Instagram and posted, right? And I got to tell you, the way you showed up into that space, and I've known you for 24 or 5 years, it's different than how Aaron Lazar showed up into a room 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 20 years ago. I don't know. Even me watching on Instagram, which, has its own way of, I don't know, we know that, but as a film director, I feel like sometimes I see images and I see things within images. Like I pick up stories or energies or things beyond the veil of what's presented. And what I got from seeing you come in and the tone of your voice, the way you said thank you for the claps, it was not coming from a place of, ego, sympathy of like this. It was actually coming of a way of giving that energy back.
Thanks, man. I mean, yeah, you're very perceptive, and you know me well, and you also have one of the greatest hearts of a human on the planet. And so I feel you all the time. And I know you feel me too. I think that's right. I mean, I think, I've talked too much about sympathy today. I think it's reinforcement for me, right? I know I've been showing up in the way that I believe is coherent with healing. And I've been doing that now for a good amount of time. I think it's reinforcement for me that, I'm human, man. We have ups and downs. This is not a smooth sail. This is a wild ride. And so it helps me to stay on the new tracks, to recognize what the old tracks were and not give them any power, but just keep making the distinction for myself. And only do that as much as necessary. Again, like the more energy I can put into the new tracks, which also requires me taking ownership of that and like hearing you and being like, thank you, man. And I received that. And that means a lot, as opposed to like the old pattern, right? Which was like, we were both, whether we were raised this way or became this way, like I have a lot of friends like this, like successful guys who are like so humble that like they don't take ownership of their power. They don't take ownership of their greatness, of all these gifts and talents that they have, because it's as if like if you do that, is it Jewish guilt? Like I don't know what that is, right? But it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Like it doesn't. You're not some egomaniacal, arrogant asshole if you are able to fully love yourself for everything that you can share with others. I think it should be the opposite, man. You should be celebrating, and yeah, I'm not the same person. And I'm excited that like, I'm not going to be the same person later today than I was this morning. Like, I'm excited to just if I'm obsessed and addicted to anything, it's growing, because to me, like that's my change right now. That's my way of healing.
How do you define growing? What does that mean to you? Like, what does that word mean? What does that idea mean to you, really?
It's like expanding my concepts and ideas of who I am and what I'm capable of, and putting them to the test and seeing how the universe responds and how my life goes, and learning how to repeat what works more and more and more and more and more. And look, man, I can't wait for the day that, we're on a beach celebrating this victory, at a dinner, with all the love in the world, just celebrating this profound victory. And like, I don't think I'm going to need to be growing in that moment. There's times where it's, you could take off that hat and put on the other one. But right now, a new friend, actually, somebody I only met recently, said something really, to me, just really profoundly wise. And she's like, Aaron, it sounds like God is asking you to come home all the way, not just part of the way, but this is you coming home all the way. And that really resonated with me, because it was like, every time I think, hey, God, I've done the work, man. It's like, yeah, but you can keep, because look, man, look how there's still road to travel here in this, in whatever this growth is, whatever this chapter is. Do I need the disease to do that? No, I do not. But a year ago, when I wrote a thank you letter to it and was like, hey, man, it's actually my second one. I had written the first one a year before that. It's like, I'm good. Lesson learned. I get it. Thank you so much. Here's what I'm thankful for. You can go now. Had it gone, would I be here in the place of consciousness that I am today? I would not. So learning everything I need to learn so that when this thing's fucking gone, I can be in this world and be present with my family and friends and helping others so that they can shift and they can grow. That to me is like what I'm being called to do. And all I'm doing and grateful for is the chance to show up over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
Dude, I love you, man.
I love you too.
Love you. I'm so happy we've been friends for so long. I was talking to Ants yesterday. We did the first podcast thing of this, and I was telling him about this experience, how when you put an idea out into the ether and then the universe just answers it. And I think I've told you this, but there was a time when it was like 2001, and I was in New York. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna make this movie, and I'm gonna fucking cast Aaron Lazar. He's gonna play the fucking role in it. I just need to give him a call. And this is before the phones, before cell phones. Is like, home phones and pay phones. And I'm like, that's it. I'm gonna fucking. And I'm in the subway. I'm like going down the A line or something, and it stops, and the door opens, and you walk right in. Not only we're in the same car, but the same fucking door. Do you remember that? I don't know.
I super do. And I'm not trying to skip through this. This is something that you have, throughout our many years of friendship. You've been the guy to remind me of the mystical powers of the universe, because you've been like, whether it's, hey man, I'm on a train in the middle of, I don't remember what country you were at. And you're like, I don't know where I'm going today. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to go. I'm going to just see where the breadcrumbs go and what doors they lead me to and what's on the other side. And it'd be like, I walk into a bookstore and I don't know what I want. I don't know what I need. I find the book that I'm called to, and when you called me, I don't know, however many months ago it was, and you're like, yeah, man, we're thinking about moving, and I'm looking at different places, for the family to move. And, really, like, I was like living vicariously through you, because I'm like, this guy's a world traveler. He's been all over the world. He knows that. Like, I wouldn't know how the hell to like consider moving to another country. I'd be like, I don't even know how to move from Studio City to West Hills, bro. Like, you're like traveling the world. You're like, we're thinking about Portugal, man. We're thinking about here. We're thinking you're all over the place. And you're like, I'm in Uruguay, and I'm like in a taxi cab, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, it seems cool. The schools seem good. It seems like it might be the right place. And you pull up at a stoplight or something, and you look out the window, and there's a sign, right? And what did that sign say?
Topaz home.
What?
But not only did it say Topaz house, but I was just answering the question to this cousin who lives in Montevideo. She's like, what do you think? And I was telling her how anxious I am at the idea of moving here, because my wife had never been here. I don't know anybody. It's like I only know one person, you, that I just met last week, and I'm anxious and have anxiety. That's why I've noticed I'm eating a lot to repress my anxiety. I get to the light, and that's when I see the sign. So it's not like random. It's like I saw the sign at the moment I was talking about the anxiety of if I should move there.
That's magic, man. I mean, that to me is, I now take, my taking a shower this morning or putting this shirt on this morning as that level of magic. It's like, it's a sign. It's just God going, you're in the right direction, man. It doesn't need to be the Topaz home level. And there are moments of that where you want that, that's some Harry Potter level wizardry you got going on there, dude. But, but it's all magic. It's all magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been like one of my magical friends. You hold space for that though. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's like, it's there if you want it to be there. Like we're all like what you and I are talking about. It's not like anybody, this is for everybody. It's just what experience do you want to have?
I think one thing I've learned from this conversation was like the intention or the energy that you hold or that you embody when you're doing something. Like, don't come from the shoulds, come from the wants or the, what is, and do it with all your heart and all your being and with all your passion, because then the energy is flowing in a different way. Even though you might be doing the same action, the energy is flowing in a different way, and therefore the result of the same action will be different.
That's beautiful, man, because that's like, you're then in alignment with yourself, right? I've had too much conflict myself where it's like, here's an opportunity, but like, I don't really know. I'm not really interested in all the blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, no, shouldn't it be the kind of thing where like, I want to go do that and I want to have the best time ever there. And then I want to go do that again. And because the universe is giving me all these opportunities and you know what I mean? And so how do I show up? or how do I want to show up? So thanks for the opportunity, man, to, hang out. You got a real gift for just open-hearted conversations and deeply truthful, without us sort of pandering around, the woo-woo of it all. Like it's grounded. It's grounded.
Dude, I love you. Let me stop recording, yeah? Guts is a Skin Deep media production. The show is produced by Sundus Hassan Noli, video by Dane Montezan, with editorial support from Ants Cabral and executive produced by me, Topaz Adizes. Special thanks to all the guests who showed guts, without whom there will be no getting under the skin. Interested in joining our community and following this journey? Visit guts.podcast on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And check out our website, theskindeep.com, for in-depth conversation card games that create the space for connection, intimacy, and deeper conversation. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, keep having the guts to get under the skin.